Hi everyone, welcome to SNDev, and in today's video we'll be building one application that will let you chat with your database using some natural language, like how we used to chat with our chat GPT and all others AI tools, right? So in short, we'll be building one text to SQL assistant that will interact with our database tables, and we can create SQL tables on the run. We can ask any particular insights, or we can ask any particular query from the table just by using our natural language. Okay, so for this video we'll be using SQLite database, which comes inbuilt with Python. So you don't need to kind of merge it with any outsourced software, or you don't need to import any packages for this. Okay, so let's see what we'll be building. So we'll be building this application. You could see here we have this interface where you could ask your natural language prompt to your database, and this is the placeholder where you can place your query to create any table or to run any particular SQL query. Okay, and here is a little feature where it will help you to download those chats in either text or in either JSON format. Okay, so let's test it a bit so that we understand keyword we'll be building. Okay, so what we're gonna ask, so I have tested multiple tables, I have created multiple tables, I have inserted some data into it. So let's first fetch that how many tables do we have. Okay, so we'll simply ask this application that how many tables do we have, right? A simple query, and it would give me. All right, so it has run this command, select count star from SQLite master where type table under the hood, and it has given this particular output 8. So we have 8 tables. So let's see that what are those 8 tables, right? So what are those tables? What are those tables? Codes and employee. Wait a minute, we have to ask precisely. So what do we have? All right, so here you could see we have total number of 8 tables: code, SQLite, SQN, student, employee. And here this SQLite master is that global database that consists these multiple tables. All right, so you could see that it is kind of running this command from this SQLite master, as this is the global database. Okay, so let's see what we have under any particular table, and let's get some insight from it, right? So I'll be taking this let's say this student table. Okay, so what do we have in student table? So what would it give me? Okay, so we have this are the data that I have in my student table. So let's ask some query. So how many students has the GPA over 3? Okay, a simple query. It given me 3. So 1, 2, 3. So it's giving me right. Now how many? Let's check some more. So let's also check some other table. So what do I have in table exams? So in exams table I have this. I have student ID, name, email, course ID, subject and date, all this kind of thing. Okay, so what I'll be doing, I'll be asking a simple thing ki, let's say any student with over 3 GPA and subject with math. Subject with math. Let's see if it can give me the query or not. It has given me 0. Is this true? No, it is giving me wrong. So let's see the query. Select count from student where GPA 3 and course ID. Alright, it's coming with the course, not with the subject. So 3 GPA and has the subject math. There is some error in this. No such column as student ID. Alright, so I think there is some problem I'm having with my prompt. Okay, so I'll be checking that later. So now let's do some query by creating some table, right? So let me create a table. So create table, let's say SNDev, where ID varchar 10 name varchar 25. Okay, so I'll write this executed successfully. Now I would check that what do I have in SNDev table, right? So okay, so we haven't inserted any data, right? So let me insert a data. Wait a minute. So insert into SNDev values 1 comma. Okay, all right, now I'll execute this. Now if I again write this command, you could see we have this data inside my SNDev. Okay, so this is a simple interface that we have built, and it's pretty much highly prompt sensitive. So if you doesn't really give a proper precise prompt, it won't really work. Like you could see in this case, there is some problem in the prompt that I have given in here. All right, so I'll also explain that how to write a good system prompt so that this kind of glitch doesn't occur in your case. So the only feature we have left is this download option. So let's say I'll be downloading in a text version. So file name, chat history. All right, I'll download. Now it has given me this link. I'll click on it. I have downloaded, I guess I should have downloaded. All right, this is downloaded. Here we go, and you could see we have our downloaded everything. Okay, so this is the application that we'll be building. All right, so before we get into the code, let us understand the working of it and the architecture, how the application will be working under the hood. Okay, so now let's see the architecture of it. So the application that we'll be building will be having this nl2sql.py, which will be our main entry point to our application, and this file will get connected to our 4 modules as config.py, that will consist our API keys, our model name, and our database path. Okay, we have our download utils.py, we have our query engine, which is the main brain of this application, and we'll also have this SQL Utils that will consist of how to insert, how to update, how to create tables, all those kind of things. Okay, so now let's understand the working using this diagram that I have built. and of course I have generated that using AI of eraser. Okay, so let us understand, and this is how we will be working. Okay, so let's say we have this user, okay, and we have this app.py. Here it is saying app.py, but in our case it will be nl to sql.py. Okay, so how it will working, and user will give its natural language query, that how we are giving to the application. Then that query would get to our app.py interface. It will capture the input, it will update the session. I hope you could see that. I'm maximizing it. Okay, then we'll display the chat interface. Then we'll send the query to our next stage, which is our query engine, which is the main brain of our application. Now here those NLP query will get converted into an SQL query using our LangChain's chat GROQ function. Okay, now we'll get inside this SQL generation block. Now if the SQL that's been generated is a valid SQL, we'll send SQL query to our SQL Utils to execute those query into for our database tables actually. Okay, so here you could see, then it will run the SQL and it will fetch the result. Then it will send back the result to my query engine, and then it will send back the result again to my main app.py interface. Okay, and here comes again two conditions. If my result found, I'll be showing that okay, here is my result. If I doesn't get my result, I'll show an error message. Now if my SQL generation failed, I'll be again showing an error message. Simple. And the last but not the least, we'll be having this download section, where if user requests to download the chat history, it will send the request to my this download utils.py, and it will format the chat history and it will provide the download link to my interface. And from the interface you can easily download that from text.json format, whatever you want. Okay, so that's being said, let's do the first thing. We'll first get our GROQ API for our Llama 3 model. So for that, go to your browser and search for this GROQ Cloud. Here you could see GROQ Cloud. Click on that. I hope I am logged in. I am logged in. We'll go to this API keys section. Here you could see we have this API, so I'll be creating another API key. Create API key. I'll be naming it as a natural language to SQL. Submit. Here we go. I have my API key. I'll copy this. I'll click on done. Okay. Now I'll cut the browser. Okay. So now let's get to the code. All right. So I have pasted the GROQ API key in my this .env file. Okay, so now let us see what will be the steps to fulfill the project. So our first step would be to kind of set up the environment. So right, so for that we'll be using our Python's virtual environment. Okay, so the command for that is python -m venv, and the name that you want to give, I want to give it my env. It's a general kind of thing. Okay, so again I'll be writing this over here, python -m venv my env. Okay, I'll click on enter. Now it would take some time to create the virtual environment for me, and after that what we'll be doing will be simply we have to activate our virtual environment. And how we gonna do that? Let me just run this. So this is my virtual environment name, my env. So I'll write my env slash scripts, again slash, I have to activate the bat file. Okay, and why I'm writing this script activate, you could see in my env we have this script folder, and under there we have this activate file. Okay, so we have to activate that particular file, so that's why. So my env slash scripts slash activate enter. Okay, so right now I am in my env file. So in my requirement.txt I have these packages: Streamlit, LangChain, Groq, Pandas. So these are the common packages that we generally need to install, and we don't need python.env, I don't think, because we'll be using that their inbuilt .env thing. Okay, so you know what, let us install this as of now. Okay, so we'll be installing this. So for that, wait a minute, we need to install packages, right? And the command for that would be if -r install requirements.txt requirements.pip-r requirement.txt. I'll copy this and I'll paste it over here. Oh, sorry, I placed the -r in the wrong position. Alright, so it would take some time. Let me change it over here as well. It's this -r would be after my installing. Okay, alright, so I'll come back when I'll be installed everything. Okay, alright, so the setup is ready. Now we need to create those files. Okay, so we'll be writing our entry point file, so which will be nl2sql.py. okay, and we created this module folder under which I'll be creating my config, my query engine, and other folders, other files. Okay, so let us first create the template of my .py file of nl2sql. Okay, so let us first import the basic things. So Streamlit as ht. Okay, then we need to set the page config. So set page config. Here we'll give page title, which will be text to SQL assistant. Okay, and the layout I'll be giving it as wide. Okay, and then for the chat then we need to showcase the chat interface, right? So for that, what I'll be doing, so if I have my chat history over here, and if I don't have my chat, like if chat history not in the particular session that I'll be created every time, so like session state, then I need to initialize a session every time. So ht.session_state.chat history. Okay, so every time a chat history will get initialized under this array. Okay, now let's say the chat interface ht.title, and I'll name it as ask anything about the database. Okay, then ht.my markdown. Here we will ask simple thing, ask natural language, the assistant will convert this to SQL query. Simple. Okay, now let me just create the display chat history portion. So okay, you know what, let me first see how it's showing. So Streamlit run nl2 sql.py. Wait a minute. nl2 sql.py. Okay, I'll run it. And here we go. You could see, and we have our thing that ask anything about the database, ask natural language, and all this thing. Let me make it of caps. Okay, then for the display the chat history, so we'll be having two roles as user and the assistant. So for role and content in every session, then we have our chat history. Okay, now here role is my user, then with st.chat message I need to make it of user. Okay, and with st.chat message I need to make it user, and also I need to mark down I have to provide the content. Okay, then if the role is as an assistant, then with st.chat message it will be my assistant, and I need to use markdown. So markdown I'll be provide content with the language would be SQL. Okay, and now again, if the elif, we need to handle some error as well, right? So if the role is error, then with again sorry it will be double is equals to with dot chat message, type it as assistant, and I need to make it error and pass the content. Okay, and last but not the least, elif if my roles come as a result, then with if my role is a result, then in my result and columns I need to add my content. Okay, and after that with I'll be adding that with my with st.chat message. I need to again call the assistant, and here if result is there, then df I need to show my table as a data frame, right? So pd dot data frame. For that I need to import pandas. So pandas as pd, so pandas as pd, and here I have my pd.data frame. I need to pass the result with column should be my columns, and then again the data frame with ht.data frame. Here I need to pass my df and use container width, which would be true. Okay, and then for the else I need to show a warning. So the warning would be no result found. Okay, so I'll save it. I'll come to my browser and I'll refresh it. Alright, so I have my things done. Alright, so as we have done the basic structure of our main nl2 sql.py file, which is the entry point of our application, now we'll be creating our other modules. Okay, so the first module that we'll be creating, which would be the config.py, and this will consist of our GROQ API and our model name and our database path where we will be storing our all database tables. Okay, so first we need to import OS, then need to get our GROQ API with os dot get env. We need to write our GROQ API key. Okay, then of course our model name, which is llama 3 hyphen 8 billion with 8192. Then database path, which would be sndev.db. Okay, so config.py, sndev.db, everything is there. Now what we need to do, we need to create our query engine. Okay, so query engine.py. all right, okay, so and this is our application's brain, right? So here what we'll be doing, we'll be converting our natural language to a SQL query. So we need to import some LangChain packages. So from LangChain _Groq import the function as chat_Groq. Okay, LangChain _Groq import chat_Groq from LangChain core dot prompts. Need to import chat prompt template. Okay, then we need to import our from LangChain core dot output parsers. We need to import str output parser. Okay, all right, and from our module dot config, we need to import our GROQ API and our model name. Okay, all right, now we need to create the function to get our SQL query, right? So def get SQL query, here we'll be passing our user's query as a string. So user query as a string, and the schema description as a string as well, and we will be converting them into a string. Okay, now here we have a prompt which is called the system prompt. So chat prompt template dot from template, and here we'll be giving our system prompt to our application. Okay, so all right, here we need to paste our prompt. Okay, all right, so I pasted the prompt over here. You can see you are a professional SQL assistant. Given an English question, convert it into a valid SQL query using the provided schema. And here in this schema will be provided our schema description that will be passing through our function parameters. And some guidelines that we have to set, that use standard SQL syntax. Always wrap string values into double quotes. Use joins when necessary, as we need to handle lots of queries using joining queries. Okay. Do not include code fences, and return only the SQL query as output. Question user query, SQL query. Okay. So this was the basic. And the problem is we need to get there under our function. So it should be like this. This also should be like this. And now after that we need to get our LLM. So LLM, we have our chat GROQ over here. We'll pass our GROQ API key, and our model name. Okay, then we need to create the chain so that every time the query gets through that LangChain to convert it from prompt to LLM to our string output parser. So chain, we need to have our prompt. This is how LangChain created, like all this chaining system. Pass our LLM and then to pass our output parser. All right, the function. After that, we will be simply return chain dot invoke. Need to invoke our user query. So user query dot strip. Okay, so this particular module is ready for the use, and now we'll be creating our second module, which is our SQL Utils, that consists of the function of how to execute a SQL query and how to get a particular schema by the natural language. Okay, so we'll name it as SQL Utils.py. Alright, so now we need to create our SQL Utils.py module that will consist of the function of executing SQL query or getting the current schema from our natural language. So first we need to import our SQLite 3 because this is the database that we are using. Then from module dot config, we need to import our database path. Okay, here function we'll be creating first will be execute SQL query. We'll be passing the query as the string format. Okay, and another function that we'll be creating will be get current schema. Okay, so let's write the first part. All right, so we have def execute SQL query, where we are passing the query as a string. So let's use a try catch block. Try, and we have accept the error of SQLite 3 dot error, and we'll be using it as e. Return if SQL error str with e and an empty array. So accept SQLite 3.a accept expected intended block. Okay, so after that we'll use our with SQLite 3 dot, we need to connect with our .db. So connect the database path as config con. Then we need to activate our cursor, and here for con dot cursor. Okay, then cursor dot execute, and to execute the query. Okay, as our cursor is done, and what's cursor is that SQL block that helps us to run a particular query one by one, and it works as a cursor, how it's like a cursor pointer, and it helps us to kind of run all our SQL query one by one, all those things. Okay, so now if the query dot strip, we need to make it lower, as you can give any uppercase, lowercase, so we need to make all prompt, all query is in the lowercase. So lower with starts with, make sure that it starts with select. Okay, then row should be, sorry, it would be cursor. Okay, so cursor dot, I'll be fetch it all, and after that for the call names I'll write simply description with the first part for description in cursor dot description. All right, after that I'll be simply returning my rows and my call name. So this is how, after executing a query, I'll be having my tables of row and column names. Then else commit. Of course, after creating a table, you need to commit in SQL, and then I'll be returning simply to blank array. Okay, all right, so this part being done, I'll come to my this get current schema section, where again we'll be connect the database. So with SQLite 3 dot connect my database path as con. Here I'll be cursor cursor and execute. Here it will be cursor. So in my cursor.execute, I have to write this command: select name from SQLite master. As I said, that SQLite master would be my that global table. Okay, so where type would be table. Okay, so this is how I'll be getting my current schema. And after that, in tables, I need to use my cursor dot fetch all function. Then schema with this blank, and to kind of paste the table in the interface for table. In tables, we need to paste our table underscore name, the first part, table 0, the first index, table 0, cursor dot execute. Here with an f string, we need to use our pragma table info with our table name. Okay, and then with the columns, use our cursor fetch all. Okay, and after that, again we need to define our schema. So we need to increment our schema after that. So an f string with our table name, then with joining with our column, so col of index 1 for column in cols. Okay, and after in the last part, we need to use this next line option. Okay, after that we will be simply return schema dot strip. Okay, and I'll save it. Alright, so we are done with our query engine, we are done with our SQL.utils. Okay, and after that, now we need to add these modules into our NL2 SQL.py to merge our application. Okay,